Hi, HRN listeners. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary, and we have a really fun campaign and an ask for you. This 15th anniversary tour is aiming to bring you closer to unique food and music experiences in some of the most exciting cities in America. All the while, we're raising funds to support our work empowering the next generation of food systems storytellers through our fellowship programs. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and be entered into a raffle in the city of your choice to win a dinner for two at a noteworthy restaurant and tickets for two to a concert at a prominent local venue. We have incredible partners in New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Asheville, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, who have donated a meal for two and two tickets to a concert of the winner's choice. And all donations help fund our fellowship programs, where we're helping to build essential workforce readiness skills and food system storytelling skills. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We do more varieties and flavors of cheese than anywhere else on earth. By pushing the boundaries of what cheese can and should be, find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Hey, welcome to Beer Sessions Radio on Heritage Radio Network. It's Tuesday, January 18th, and it's 2022, if you can believe that. Well, it's pretty cold up here in the Northeast, some of the coldest weather we've had all winter. And it just turns out that we're talking to some people in Austin, Texas, and in Baja, Mexico. So let's go around the room and introduce everybody. Let's start with Katie.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Katie Lowe, and I'm the brewer here at Coco's Bavarian, and we're located in Austin, Texas.
Wow, I bet the weather is nice today.
It is. Today it's been really nice. Texas kind of has some back and forth weather. It'll be 40 degrees, and then the next day it'll be 75. So we got one of those good days today.
All right. And Jordan?
Hi, my name is Jordan Gardenhire. I'm the founder of Baja Brewing Company, and we're located here in Los Cabos, Mexico.
Wow, and how's the weather there?
It's about 80 degrees as always.
Wow. You know, there's places you always want to go in the winter, and definitely I'm going to put, after this show, Austin, Texas, and Cabo, Baja on my list. Let's just start with Jordan, because you've been doing this longer. So back in 2007, you went from Colorado to Baja. Tell us your backstory and your interest in beer and how you ended up founding a brewery in Mexico.
Sure. I went to college in Boulder, Colorado, CU, go Buffs. And that is where I started brewing beer. Literally the typical dorm room brewing story, had a couple plastic buckets and just trying to figure out a way to meet people. So started making beer. And after college, I got a job, suit and tie, and hated it. Lasted about 6 months, quit, and decided I was just going to go travel around in Mexico. And I ended up landing in Cabo back in 2004. And at that point, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I came down here basically just to learn how to surf and learn some Spanish. And my plan was always then go back to Colorado and figure it out later. And that was, 16 or 18 years ago.
Wow, that's great, man. Yeah, Cabo kind of sells itself, doesn't it?
You know, it's a place where you can end up. I guess I just tell everyone, be careful. If you come down, you might not leave.
Well, what about the region? I've read that Baja's hot for craft beer. Is there like the influence that part of it is close to San Diego? You know, and what was it like when you first opened up? Because I don't even think, was there any craft beer in Mexico when you first started?
When we opened, which was 2007, there were less than 10 breweries in the whole country, 10 craft breweries. And they were none of them in this area. And today, it's hard to count, but they're in the hundreds, maybe even 1,000, all over the country. And the biggest, I would say, kind of center of it all for the last few years has definitely been northern Baja. which is, I'm in the very tip of the southern Baja, so about 1,000 miles north of me, in Tijuana, Ensenada area, is where a lot of craft breweries have started, and it definitely has to do with the influence cross border from San Diego. So yeah, I would say the Baja definitely is putting out a lot of really good craft beer right now.
Wow. And hey, Katie, tell us a little bit about Coco's and how you got started in craft beer.
Sure, yeah. So Coco's has recently opened up here in Austin. We opened up in the beginning of December, and we have 4 owners here that kind of came together to make Coco's what it is. And one of those is the namesake, and that is actually Constantine, and he is Prince of Bavaria. So his full name is Constantine Prince von Bayern. And he's got some friends here that are in Austin, and Jesse and Charles Attal, and then we have Chef Tim Love, all came together and decided that they wanted to do a German beer garden here in the heart of Austin, Texas. And we basically came together from a couple of friends that knew all of them. And then I came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and moved here for this opportunity. So.
Wow. And then when did you start brewing? Like what was your experience before?
I got it started with brewing when I lived in Baton Rouge. I've been brewing since I was in college. So I went to LSU, and I don't know if you know anything about LSU, but they have a very big tailgating atmosphere there. So.
I was going to say football teams.
Go Tigers, yes. So that's alma mater. But attending there, since tailgating was such a big thing, I really bought my first brew kit and kind of started like that, just brewing with some friends. Of course, the first couple of brews were not drinkable. But as I got better and better and read a little
Katie,
bit more.
If you were Jordan, you just would have given them out to your friends in the dorm, right?
Exactly. And then they gave me a thumbs up as they were pouring it down the drain behind my back. But from them and their notes and reading a little bit more, I got better and better, and then could actually bring my beers to the tailgates. But from there, I kind of did that for a little while, and then started working at a brewery called Tin Roof. And they're really right down the road from LSU, right next to the university. But I worked at Tin Roof as a brewer there for almost 3 years before I came here.
Oh, that's great. Well, Coco sounds really cool. Well, first with the weather, so you got the outdoor beer garden. But
yes.
I know about Tim Love, and what's the food like? Because I know I love like smoked meats. I think about beer garden food, but what has Tim done with that menu that sets it apart from a typical pub?
That's awesome. Yeah, Tim has really brought an amazing program here. We're doing the traditional beer garden foods, everything you think of. We've got some schnitzel, we have our giant pretzel with the mustard and queso. But the really interesting thing are the brats that we're doing here. And we've got many different type of brats. We've got a rabbit and rattlesnake. We're doing some venison, some currywurst. That's apparently very traditional, I've been told by somebody from Germany, which is really fun. But he has some artisan sausages, really, that he's brought to Coco's that have been really delicious and interesting, and not really what you find anywhere else that you go, because it's all different types of meats.
Yeah. So you being in Austin now, what would you tell a visitor, in your eyes as a new person in Austin, in the industry, if I'm going down to Austin, what would I be looking for? I mean, we know about South by Southwest. I don't know too much else about Austin.
The main thing that drew me here was really the connection to the outdoors. And, coming from Louisiana, sportsman paradise, we do love our outdoors, but it's a lot of fishing and hunting. But coming here, it's more exploring, and they've got Barton Springs. And then there's a lot of outdoor dining here, which is wonderful because they've got such good weather here. None of the humidity that we have in Louisiana, which is nice. But everywhere here has a great patio. It may be just steps away from a trail that you can go on down to a spring. And they love to really just sit outside, talk, have a beer, share a pretzel, get back to nature.
Wow. Sounds great, especially on a day like today when it's really, really cold up here north. Well, back to Jordan. So Jordan, you first started making beer at Baja. Um, Tell us like the first beers that you made that went over well and that you kind of built your business on. We're going way back.
Yeah, when we started, we came out with four styles. And back then, we're living in Lagerland here. It's Pacifico, and that was basically it. And so it was hard. We had to be pretty conscientious that our clients probably weren't gonna, be hop heads because none of them had ever tried a hop before. So we started with a blonde ale and a brown ale and a red ale, and then we did do a pale ale. And the blonde was our easiest going go-to drinking beer, and just by far outsold the other three, even though us internally we drank the other ones. But it was hysterical because people would put on their bitter face for our literally underhopped blonde, and it took a lot of time to kind of get that culture going, at least in this town.
Yeah.
And today we still have three of those four beers, although the pale ale's turned into an IPA, but the red and the blonde are still their original recipes.
When I see you guys post on Instagram, there's a lot of glasses of beer on the beach. What beer is most popular on the beach?
We have two that kind of take it, I think. One is our La Surfa lager, which is a lager. It's actually the only lager we do now, and it's just kind of a hoppy lager. We call it a Baja lager, and we also make that one in a can. So that's kind of a good beach beer. That's probably my favorite for the beach. And then we have our IPA is also just very easy drinking IPA, and even though maybe it wouldn't be considered a beach beer, it's pretty popular.
Oh, that's great. And when I was talking to your team, they said that you had a lot of like great stories about the early days of Baja. Um, you're an American guy in another country opening a business. First of all, I mean, were there any particular stories you want to tell us, or challenges you had to overcome?
Well, I could probably come up with a few stories. I Okay. Well, one that I like was getting the equipment down the peninsula. So I was out looking for equipment all over the place, and my friend Doug Odell from Odell's Brewing actually called me up one day and said, "Hey, this brewery in Laguna Beach just went out of business, and their equipment's for sale. So, and he said it might be just what you need." So I flew up there, ended up making a deal with the owner. But I didn't have enough money at the time, so I said I'll give you 20% and I'll come back in 2 months with the rest of it. And I somehow pulled that off. And then we had to get it out of this historic building right downtown Laguna Beach, which we couldn't touch, and there was no way to get it out. It was too big. There were no doors, and we weren't allowed to break open the facades. So we actually had to basically take the part of the roof off the building, crane it out.
I knew you were going to say that.
We had to do it all at night because there was no traffic. So we, had to, pay the Laguna Beach, police force to block all the roads. And, it was just, what a night. And there was still beer in the tanks, and the old brewer was there, and we were just pouring and drinking as many beers as we could. He's kind of like emotional, and we're just trying to help him not throw it all away, drink as much as we can. And then I flew back to Cabo and had to wait for 2 weeks while these three flatbed trucks, winded their way down the Baja, and somehow they made it, and that was the beginning.
So is that one of your biggest issues? Is just getting things to your location?
It used to be, we're in a very remote area, and so all the shipping is just one way. Everything comes into Cabo, but nothing goes out. So you kind of have a double price there, cost. And just finding things, especially specialty items, anything stainless steel wise or brewery specific, was impossible in Mexico back when we were opening. And luckily now there's a number of suppliers that have kind of come online here in Mexico. They're still tiny and it's nowhere where it needs to be, but it's actually improving rapidly now.
Wow, that's great, man. Well, it's such a great introduction. And Katie, back to you. So, German style, beer hall. Tell us about your beers. I mean, I love German style beers. What are the styles that are your favorites? And tell us about the ingredients. Is there any local malt that you're using?
Yeah, so it all comes from us being, in the inspiration of Coco coming over, and his family were the ones who actually started Oktoberfest. So it was like his fifth great grandfather, I think, were the ones that started Oktoberfest in Germany. And so what they talked about doing was something that was going to be a much more traditional style German beer, kind of getting back to the Reinheitsgebot, which is like the purity law for these German beers, where you're really only supposed to include hops, barley, and water. And so what we wanted to do is kind of stick to that. And we keep it really simple. We don't want to kind of zhuzh it up too much, because we want to keep it to what people would be drinking when they're in Bavaria. And so we actually do German hops. And then the malt that we have is actually malted here locally. It's called Tex Malt, and it's right outside of Austin that we get it from. And it's really nice to get it local, because the maltsters come in all the time, talk to us about the product, kind of have their hands on it, really kind of taste the beer as throughout the whole process, and then communicate with us about what we like, what we don't like, and what we're ready to change. And it really makes us feel like we're in this collaboration with them together. They're growing every day, we're growing every day. And it's been really nice to have them be a part of this project as well.
Wow. Do you know how did that start? How did that relationship start? Because I'm just a huge, big fan of craft malt right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is very new to me being so new in Austin, but I know that there is a group here of some consultants that are really trying to push using craft maltsters in Austin. And so they are called Solon Consulting. And their main thing is that they want to bring the brew community together to help each other out, and having that community aspect and that conversation between the brewer and the maltster is really important, because if you're trying to hone in on a very specific taste and a very specific style, it's nice to talk to the person who actually has their hands on the grain themselves. And, brewing really is brew with what you got. And so if you're brewing what you got and who you got around you, I think it's important to have that conversation free flowing from both sides. But I believe it's just people that have all been around the brewing industry enough to where they started talking and going, hey, like, if you guys are interested, we'll come over there and kind of have a more niche malt for you for what you're looking for.
Oh, wow. So when you guys were opening, how long did it take you to develop the recipes, and how much of that depended on the different malts that you were using?
So we are really looking at a basic level right now. And I mean, that's one of the fun things about doing more traditional German beers, is that it's really the attention to detail when you're in the cellar. There is a lot that you can do with different types of malts, but you can pick one malt, and it really is just all about what you do with the hops and what you do with the yeast that really develop that beer. And so it's been fun to kind of stick with one base that we have from Tex Malt, and then manipulate from there to get our different styles. And they've been really good about communicating with us, but we really try to keep it simple to where we allow the yeast really to do all the magic and do all the work with the beer.
Well, that's great. What are, I know you've got a list of the different styles you have, but just tell me, what do you drink after your shift? Always beer. Come on.
Yeah, a couple of those, right? So our Helles that we do is one of my favorites. I'm really excited about how that one came out. Helles means bright and light beer, and so I think it pairs really well with the brats that Tim Love has brought over here. I mean, it's a really good food beer. We do a Hefeweizen. We have a Pilsner that is just absolutely killing it on draft right now. We've done a Bock, Kolsch, and a Dunkel so far. So really kind of all over the map when it comes to malt and color, but just trying to get back to those traditional styles. And I mean, to be honest, with all of these, we're just using Pilsner malt from Tex Malt. And, you have a little touch of Munich malt here and there to give it some color. We're using some German hops that comes from Germany, but really it's just kind of how we're cellaring everything, how we're treating it while the yeast do all the work that really kind of brings out the magic of the beer.
Wow. No, that's a great intro too. Hey, Jordan, you got another crazy story for me?
That's just going to be your questions. Just tell me a crazy story.
That's why you're on, man. You're the color guy.
Yeah. Crazy story. Well, I'll just continue the story I was telling. So the trucks do arrive down at this, we're in this little town, San Jose del Cabo, and we're on this dirt street at the time, which got paved soon after we opened. And we talked to the local police and had them close the street down, and we ended up having everything planned out. We had a forklift rented and a crane and everything to get all the tanks into this new building. Well, the forklift didn't show up and the crane didn't show up, and we had to get these tanks off the trucks and into the breweries. So it ended up being about 15 guys, me included, just basically manhandling these vessels into the brewery and standing them up with kind of wrenching them up. And it was maybe one of the longest days I can remember. We started before the sun came up and probably finished at midnight that night. But I do remember specifically having probably the best tasting beer I've ever had right when we finished. And it was just me and the boys, and we were just sitting there, and we all cracked open. And I have to say, it was a Pacifico, but at that time, that's all I had. It was just a great moment.
And it was cold. So how important is cold beer? Because you're basically, tell us about Cabo. The town, is that a beach town, right? And I hear it as a resort town.
Yeah, it's a beach town. It's Los Cabos, so it's two towns kind of near each other. And Cabo San Lucas is the spring break party town. Big marina, lots of boats, lots of beach bars and restaurants. And then San Jose del Cabo, which is where I am and the brewery is about 20 minutes up the road, and it's a bit sleepier, more kind of traditional Mexican town with a nice town square with the church and all that. And the brewery is just a block behind the church. And it's a really nice area. I recommend everyone come down. Well, not everyone, just if you're cool. But the weather here is great. Most of the year it's just sunny and warm. Only in August and September it gets very rainy, hurricaney, humid. So it's about 2 months of brutal hell, and then the rest of the year is pretty much perfect.
Wow, man, Baja's really interesting. I'm part of a Pozole and Mezcal festival that's up in New York, and the wine that we're getting out of Mexico is all coming out of Baja. Is that near you, or is that further north in Baja?
So that's the northern part of Baja, Valle de Guadalupe, and yeah, it's a really cool place to visit. Actually, lots of great wineries, nice places to stay, and yeah, I think the quality of wine coming out of there has just really improved since I've been down here. And now you go to any restaurant and they'll definitely have a Mexican wine or two on the menu, whereas before it was not the case.
Yeah, no, just getting to know all the different importers and chefs from Mexico. It's really seems like a golden era of everything food and drink in Mexico right now.
Yeah, it's all about local. Similar to the U.S. Sometimes trends start stateside and kind of find their way down here, but it's definitely about quality, local, craft. Small producers. Mezcal is the perfect example of that. Nobody talks about tequila anymore. They're the big boys. So to me, mezcal and craft beer are just two peas in a pod.
Yeah. So tell us what it was like as you grew. You had to overcome some disasters, right? You had hurricanes. Did you completely lose one of your locations?
In 2014, we had our biggest hurricane down here that they'd had in 50 or 100 years, and called Hurricane Odile. And it just wiped us out. I was at my house, and all of the windows, I have these sliding glass doors, they just all started exploding. Boom, 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 boom. The kind of hurricane came inside my house. I watched my TV float across my living room and just smash against the other wall. And it was intense. And in the brewery, so I showed up the next day, you know, uh, I got in my truck, had a pickup truck, and just weaving in and out between fallen palm trees and trying to get there. And I live nearby, but it still took me about a half an hour to get there, which should have taken about 5 minutes. And two of the four walls had fallen down in the brewery. Kegs were on top of fermenters. There was mud about 4 feet high throughout the entire facility, and in our restaurant included. And it was a total. Well, I won't say a total loss, because I made one mistake, and I had left all the fermenters and all the bright tanks filled with beer, and I was just thinking, oh my God, we're gonna lose all that beer. That's really all I cared about. And it turned out, though, that I think the weight of all that actually kept them in place. And so the actual beer was fine. And so it was actually a huge coup. We actually survived and thrived.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was wondering if the equipment got blown around or anything. So yeah, man, it's so even in paradise, there's risks.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know what the lesson is there, but make sure you have hurricane insurance, I think, is the main one. But that knocked us out for just over a year, actually. And it took that long to rebuild and get back on our feet. And in the meantime, our tap room and restaurant was closed, but we opened up just a little side door and had beer to go, and tried to make sure people knew we weren't out of business. And yeah, it was just God, it was like a week of shoveling mud. It was disgusting.
Oh yeah, we've actually had quite a few shows about disasters. In fact, my old pub, we had been next to a big New York City fire, and I remember the mud too. We were in the basement. So, hey, you know what? We're having a great conversation. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a few minutes on Beer Sessions Radio.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. Wisconsin, the state of cheese, makes half of the nation's specialty cheese and wins more awards than any other state or country. Our heritage and traditions, master cheesemaker program, and the American propensity for innovation all put Wisconsin on the cutting wedge of cheesemaking. With over 600 varieties of cheese to choose from and 5,500 national and international awards and counting, get ready to turn your refrigerator into a trophy case. Enjoying a Wisconsin cheese is basically like winning a gold medal in culinary achievement. Set your mind at cheese. When you bite into a wedge of Wisconsin Wonderful, you know it is made with the ultimate skill and passion possible. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on Heritage Radio Network. Join us and become a member at heritageradionetwork.org/donate. There's over 30 podcasts every week, chefs, food, farms, and beer. Check us out, heritageradionetwork.org. So we're talking with Jordan of Baja Brewing in Mexico and Katie from Coco's Bavarian Beer Garden in Austin, Texas. And I know I'm screwing up your names, but Katie, let's talk more about Austin. So when I think about Austin, I'm thinking about smoked meats and the history of German immigrants who brought a lot to that area. Why did your team want to do the Bavarian Beer Garden in Austin? And why did Coco get involved? That's what I want to know. He's the freaking prince of Bavaria. Why is he opening a brewery in Austin? Why not in China or somewhere else?
That's just it, though, because we do have such a rich culture of German heritage here. And I mean, I always think back to the song Luckenbach, Texas, You got to think of Waylon Jennings even talking about it. But we've got Fredericksburg, we've got New Braunfels, we have many different places where there was a very large influx of German immigrants coming to the United States that settled around the mid 1800s. And from there, it's kind of just spread. And there's been so many people that have come in since we've opened up that have said, my grandmother or my father or my uncle are from Germany, or, they moved over here, or I have ancestors that lived down here in Texas and they're so excited to come and try some beer and try some food to remind them of home. And the main thing that we were really looking back toward was that communal lifestyle and getting together around Oktoberfest, kind of kicking back and bringing the family together, eating some brats, drinking some beer. But looking back at Coco's family, he was the one, since it was his family that came up with Oktoberfest, they wanted to kind of do a nod toward that. And Austin is there's a place that loves food, loves beer, loves to be outside and meet new people, bring in communities and people from all over the world together. I mean, since I've been here, I've met more people from all over the world than I've actually met people that are from Austin. And so I think it really is tying together so many different cultures and communities. And we're trying to kind of bring a little slice of Coco's family here and share that traditional vibe. But the main thing that he really wanted to do was kind of bring together that outside German vibe in the east side of Texas, because there wasn't really many beer gardens out here. I know we've got a couple of different places in Austin, but the Bavarian German vibe they wanted to kind of bring to Austin for the first time.
Yeah. So are you getting into barbecue there?
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's many places on my list that I have to check out. I've seen a couple of places that have lines around the building from 8 a.m. until they sell out. There's a huge barbecue community here that I have yet to jump into, but there's plenty of time.
So we know Aaron Franklin from Franklin's Barbecue. Awesome. And I've always wanted to meet this guy, Louis Mueller of Mueller's, which is a longtime family. It was a German meat counter going way back. Can you tell us one or two other, I know you're working for Coco's, but if I come to Austin, can you tell me a couple other places that I might go to eat or drink?
Specifically talking about barbecue?
Anything, just something somewhere you might go grab your coffee. I want a little Austin flavor, somewhere you might grab a drink when you're not at work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So a couple of places that I've been to that I've really enjoyed are La Barbecue. Mostly, really, I'm looking for anything with a patio, but Terry Black's is one of the places that I got to say, they always have a line out the door. And when you're walking by on the street, even if you weren't thinking about barbecue, you're going into that place because it's absolutely amazing. Another place is Leroy and Lewis. It's really good, but Franklin's Barbecue, I think, has to be one of the most popular ones that everybody talks about.
Yeah, no, that's got credit everywhere. And a big shout out to them. I mean, Austin's wild. You think about UT, University of Texas. I've met some of the guys from Jester King over the year. It's definitely a place I want to come to. I'm definitely coming to Coco's. How about this? You mentioned some Waylon Jennings. What's the soundtrack playing at Coco's? Do you guys have any live music or anything?
We do. We actually have a stage out front. And so one of the owners of Coco's, he is actually associated with, we've got Stubbs and ACL. And so it's C3 really is tied in with the music there. And so we're looking to get some really awesome people to come play here. We actually had a polka band for our opening night. And in the rotation, Coco of Bavaria is actually a DJ. So we actually had some of his house music playing on our Spotify, which is awesome. But for Oktoberfest, we're going to do a huge Oktoberfest thing here. And so we have the stage right up front, and then we've got all the tables sitting out right in front of the stage. But we're going to bring in a big tent, hopefully bring in some more polka music and everything like that. But we've got a mixture in between some 80s music going. We've got some country. Like I said, Austin is really a conglomeration of people from all over the world. So we've got a lot of different music playing here at any given time.
So now I got my corny pop movie reference. So in Home Alone, the movie, John Candy was in what kind of band traveling cross country? Katie.
Polka, polka, polka.
And I have some friends that are Polish, and actually they've also been in traveling polka
That's
bands.
awesome.
So it's great music. You really got me on the edge of my seat. That's good. And your soundtrack's polka. And then Jordan, down in Cabo, what's your soundtrack?
We play a lot of classic rock at our place at our two restaurants. It's when we got down there, everyone was playing basically music in Spanish. So we just came in and did everything USA style. So we did classic rock, burgers, pizzas, kind of went the other way. But listening to Katie talk about the food for the third time in a row, I can't believe I didn't eat lunch yet. This is killing me.
Okay, so what you're in your tell us the Cabo that you're in again, because it sounds really special.
San Jose del Cabo. It's it's a huge destination, but most of the people end up at these big resorts down in Cabo San Lucas, which is only 20 minutes away. But every Thursday night in San Jose del Cabo, where I live, we close down all the streets in the downtown, and that's where the brewery and our tap room is. And it becomes just a big walking area, and all the restaurants have live music, and we're in the art district, so all the art galleries are open, giving away wine, and people are just walking around, and it's beautiful. I mean, you can imagine the typical Mexico pueblo with all these old buildings and the plaza, and it's just a super nice place to live, completely safe, and I can't recommend it enough.
Well, you're hungry now. You're going to leave your own spot, and you're going to take a little walk or go somewhere local. Where would you be eating right now for a quick lunch or quick bite?
Next door to us, there's a great taco place called La Lupitas, and they call them gourmet tacos, but it's basically just really good tacos with literally anything you can imagine, from seafood to different kinds of meat. That's one. And otherwise, I would go just down the street to a more local place, which is called Toro Güero, which means the white bull. And it is seafood. And basically, that's the food of the Baja, is these, fried fish tacos, and all kinds of seafood, lots of ceviches, and just a lot of, raw food. And so that's if I'm eating lunch and it's hot out, I'm pretty much eating some kind of raw seafood.
Raw seafood, yeah. My experience in Mexico was like ceviche, and like I would get like some kind of wine or a light drink with cut it with soda and lemon or lime or something. Man, it sounds great. I'm thinking of both of you guys, and how I have to get to Austin and to your little town in Cabo. One last thing to talk about is just beer itself. So, Jordan, you've expanded a little bit. You've been doing this a long time. Um, what, Tell us about the move to distributing in the United States, and what challenges you face. Like, did you rename your beers? What product mix is selling in the States versus what you're selling in Cabo?
We started selling in the States a number of years ago, and the idea was just to bring kind of our best sellers north. I just loved the idea of coming from the U.S. and moving to Mexico to make beer to sell back to the U.S. That just kind of made me chuckle. So I thought that was a great idea. And so we started. We have four styles, which are our four biggest sellers down here. And it's a huge different market for us up there. Here locally in the Baja, we can do lots of seasonal beers, and collaborations. We do an experimental beer every month, and so we have lots of different things going on. And in the US, it's just our four main styles, but they are our go-tos, and they're the ones that we've worked the hardest on. And we started off, well, right now our focus is in California. So once we started kind of picking up steam and selling more up there, we needed more supply, and we ended up building a brewery up in Tijuana, near the border. And that's more just a bigger brewery for us. So that one can produce enough beer for us to be able to export more and sell more here in Mexico. And it's been a crazy experience. We've had lots of peaks and valleys. We've had some great months and years, and then for whatever reason it drops off. But right now we're just gung ho, and we're a bunch of states, but our primary focus really is Southern California. We're not in Texas. We're not in Austin right now, so you can't find it there, Katie. But we are in let's see, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Kansas, New York, Illinois, and I'm probably forgetting a couple.
Yeah, New York, I think Illinois too. Yeah, Chicago. Wow, that's great, man. It's quite a story, and you won an award. Tell us the big Mexican beer competition, and you won best large brewery. What is large brewery considered?
So Cerveza Mexico it's really the beer competition in Mexico that happens every year. And it's in Mexico City, and it corresponds to the big conference here that happens every year, the big beer conference. So it's really the one that matters. Anyways, we've been entering it for 4, 5, 6 years, and this year I couldn't believe it. We sent in 6 beers, and 5 of them were winners, and then we won, best brewery. The reason it says large brewery is because they also have a small brewery category, which is they're all craft breweries though, so it's kind of misleading. It's not like we're competing against the big guys. It's all craft. So yeah, we out of the larger breweries, I think there was 120 or so competing. We got the gold, so that was a huge deal for us.
Oh, that's great. All right. And Katie, last thing about your beers and the beer program. Who kind of drafted or created this whole program that you have? I mean, you guys have a really great beer list, and some of my favorite beers like Aventinas, as well as beers that you're brewing. Were you part of that conversation? I want to get a better sense of what Coco's is, because it just looks like a really great beer place.
Yeah, of course. So the main people who came together and kind of put together the idea behind Coco's were Jesse Herman, Charles the Tall.
I hear you, Susan. I hear you.
We've got Chef Tim Love, and then from there, and Coco, but from there, really, they have kind of told me what the heartbeat was, and then kind of passed it over. So that was really them going, look, this is what we want to explore. This is something that we want to bring to the table. But from there, if you can help make this happen, they've really kind of given me the reins and let me go with it. And so it was nice, but at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, guys, what do you think? So they come by all the time and do tastes and, give me a thumbs up, say, hey, yeah, this is what we're looking for. But I think it's really nice that they were going, whatever you think will help to show Austin what we're intending to do to try to get back to the basics with the German beers, bring that to the table. And so, I actually come from a background in more IPAs. That was what was popular in Louisiana, and that's what I had a lot of experience in brewing. And so here, getting more into doing the traditional lagers has been a really awesome, fun experience for me so far. And this is, what I think every brewer really has a lot of fun with too, is because at the end of the day, everybody wants one of the crispy boys, as they call them, So getting back to just something easy drinking and something that pairs well with food has been a really fun adventure for me to be able to get back into. But we also we're a brew pub, and so we're not actually in distribution, but we have 6 of our beers on tap, but we do share 26 other visiting taps, which is really nice. And so we're bringing in a lot of European beers, that I myself am trying for the first time, which is really fun too. So, we've got some German beers, we've got some Belgian beers, and then we've got some local stuff. So people who come in to try our beers also get to do tastes of something that they would get when they would go overseas, or maybe they're new to Austin, but they get to sit down and actually try some of the local Austin beers as well. And I gotta say, there are some amazing breweries here in Austin that I came here to visit for the first time ever to try the beers, and then now I'm staying here and living here for the beers. So it really brings a lot of opportunity.
That's great. Hey, when Susan was sending notes about you, she described you as a brewster. What's a brewster?
So that's the name given to female brewers, and kind of, I guess, maybe the brew wench or the brew mistress didn't really stick around. So a brewster is the name that is given to female brewers.
That's great. All right. Well, any questions you guys want to ask each other? Katie, you're up in Austin, and Jordan's in Baja. You got a question for one or the other?
Sure, Katie. Well, first of all, I'm wish I was at your place right now, eating and sampling beers. But my real question is, if I do come in, which I guess I will, how many beers should I try to get through in one sitting?
Oh man. I say let's start with a brat and then we'll see from there for sure. But with the weather out here, I mean, you can sit here and drink beer after beer after beer. And I have to say, I imagine that it's pretty similar to what you've got out there in Baja, but they make it so accessible to just go from brewery to brewery around here. They even have some of those little trolleys that everybody gets on and they pedal all together. It's kind of like the brewery hopping trolley, but everybody does flights out here, and it's a really amazing communal vibe. Like, I haven't really had a chance to experience many other places, but I found a home here very quickly. And all the breweries around here are really good friends. All the neighbors are really good friends. If you need to borrow anything, you just hop right down the road and they've got it for you. And then they send you on their way with a beer and a taco. So
sounds great.
That does sound great. Katie, you got a question for Jordan?
Yeah. So how much time do you spend on the beach versus at work?
I wish I could say more. I'm a bit of I'm too often either in the brewery or on my computer, but I definitely get out on the weekends, and I got into kite surfing. So sometimes I'll head to this little beach. It's about an hour from here, and stay over Saturday night and do that. And over the years, I've done a lot of camping on the beaches and just generally hanging out. So that is really the best part of living down here is I can drive about 10 minutes and I'll hit a dirt road and basically empty surf beaches.
That's awesome. That's the dream right there.
So you guys could both agree with me that beer is part of an active lifestyle.
Yes.
Heck yeah, it is.
Oh yeah. We're going to end on that note, that beer is part of an active lifestyle. There's some days when I have a really hectic day, and I'm a little frazzled. There's nothing that relaxes me more than just a beer, and often it's a lager or a sessionable IPA. So I'm going to raise my glass. I'm actually drinking something. OEC Brewery is actually German-owned, German family that's Be United importers. So if you know some of the beers like Aventinus, the son has opened up a traditional 19th century with an open fire system that's run by computers, and I'm drinking. It's called Rustic Pale Wheat Ale. So it's like a 19th century kind of farmhouse wheat. So we're gonna raise our glass and say beer is part of an active lifestyle, even in January, kids. Yeah, you guys are my special January show. Make me realize I can go surfing or hiking, and make sure I have a beer to help balance out my mood at the end, right? But thanks you guys so much. This is such a fun show. Just came together, and both of your teams at Coco's, Susan was instrumental in Alex, Coco's at Alex, and at Jordan on your team at Baja, there's Susan. You guys really have a great team, and I appreciate your taking the time to talk to me Definitely want to visit Austin. Definitely want to visit Baja. So thanks so much, guys. And thanks to Armand Engineer. Thanks, Katie and Jordan. We'll catch you next time on Beer Sessions Radio. All right. Thank you. Woo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Beer Sessions Radio is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.